All right. Good morning, everybody. It is Good Friday, and it is going to be a great day. I've had an absolutely awesome morning so far, and looking forward to continuing that with Alex Allen from 239 Work here in Fort Myers. I guess technically Bonita, right?
Yep. Technically, our co-working space is out of Bonita Springs. Yep. Good morning.
So, but he's local business owner is dealing with the same struggles that we all are, and so the whole intention of winning tactics is how we can help each other out as small business owners and really grow and build our businesses, and especially with challenging times right now. I think it's really important that we talk about what we're doing in different spaces and different businesses, different industries to really see where we can support each other as small business owners and provide opportunities maybe to think outside the box. So, Alex, welcome. Glad to have you on. Tell us a little bit about 239 Work and what you're doing and how you got there.
Sure. Yeah. 239 Work has been open for just over a year now. So we opened last February. So a year and a couple months. 239 Work is just one of the portfolio companies of 239 Group, which was started about 6 months prior to the co-working space opening up. I've been in the Southwest Florida region since 2012. I came down here. My background is in tech, so I came down here with a company called eMate. That's short for maintenance, and in which I had joined in 2006. This quickly became our headquarters. We were growing pretty rapidly. And in 2016, we were acquired by Fluke, the hardware company. And then in 2017, I transitioned out of the business, did something else with another local software company, Field Edge, for about a year. And then we started up 239 Group. The idea behind 239 Group was to get involved with the technology ecosystem that helped us grow the eMate business so much down here. And find different opportunities where we would be able to get involved, help grow our business or businesses, as it turns out, and contribute to the ecosystem. So since starting that group business, which is focused on investment and consulting, and really just being opportunistic, we've obviously opened up the co-working space. We have also started 239 Ventures, which is an investment firm. We're in the process of starting up 239 Media, which is a digital media company. And I'm also pretty involved with, very involved with the Southwest Florida Regional Technology Partnership. So I was on the board previously, and now I'm the president of the organization. And involved in other areas of the community as well. So that's kind of my backstory. My passion's around customer success and customer engagement, although I do have a technical background and abilities.
Awesome. Yeah. No, it sounds like you are an incredibly busy guy all the time.
That's what a lot of people say. Yeah, I have a great team to work with, obviously. So that is how it's possible for sure.
Of course, yeah. No, are you taking a little bit of the social distancing time to take a step back and relax a little bit, or?
Well, some of it you don't really have a choice, right? I'm sitting on a couch. I'm not running through a 15,000 square foot co-working space. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely has caused, I think, the whole society to kind of take a step back and spend more time with their family and nature, and pontificating on lots of different things. It's yeah, I don't want to make light of the situation. Obviously, there's a lot of businesses that are hurting. There's a lot of people that are hurting, a lot of families that have lost loved ones. So, I want to make sure that we, make note of that. But yeah, I mean, it has caused us to kind of slow down. And it's caused us to shift gears on a couple things, and it's caused us to really evaluate some areas where we thought, where we knew we could be better, and but it wasn't a priority. And then realizing that it should have been a bigger priority. Now that, an example, virtualization
Yeah.
of the co-working space, right? And the community virtualizing, it shows the strength of the bonds between the community members. And so, everybody's got their own thing, as we were just mentioning, spending time with family, and, it's a stressful time, really, for everyone, no matter where you fit into all this. So, I think there's a lot of people that are focusing on that, but, it also has presented some challenges for us in that regard, and some lessons.
Yeah, no, I agree. Everybody at this point should be taking a shift and looking at opportunities to shift in their businesses. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, we should be doing that constantly, but I think if you're not doing that, especially right now, you're opening yourself up to opportunities or you're not opening yourself up to opportunities that will come out of this as as everything starts to die down, and I guess you could call it get back to normal. I don't think we'll ever truly get back to normal after this, but
Hmm.
or what we perceived as normal before all of this. But as everything slows down, business starts picking back up. That shift is going to, in evaluating what shifts you need to make, is going to be, I think, a really critical piece of a lot of businesses. So
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that I've seen, and so I have my personality is kind of to be a little bit reserved, a little bit quiet, to take time to process what's going on, and then kind of come back. So usually, in a 8-person meeting, I'm one of the more quiet people in that meeting, but then in the follow up, probably have quite a bit to say. That type of personality, and so one of the things that I've been doing is recently, just for the first, I'd say 2-3 weeks of this really coming in, just sitting and watching and trying to understand how things are going to develop. And uh, I think I've seen there's just there's so many good things that are happening, right, in the community, in the business community, and in the community in general, where you have so many people trying to help each other, like 14 different Facebook groups popping up on, supporting small businesses, Southwest Florida strong, Southwest Florida this, Southwest Florida that. And that's great to see. There's a lot of content that's coming out. Obviously the CARES Act, the Paycheck Protection Act. Those are really important, great stimulus items for the economy. But along with them, you get every workshop, every webinar, every email from the chamber, from the Economic Development Office, from the SBDC. So there's just so much information, and from your own banks, and there's a lot of information coming. How to work remotely, how to track your employees that are working remotely. There's just so much happening. And so, I think one of the things that I'm trying to do is just make sure that take advantage of opportunities that are there. Take advantage of the time to evaluate the business, and understand what, as well as you can, what the ecosystem is going to look like coming out of this. Be very aware and empathetic for everyone that you talk to. Try to continue business as usual, but make sure that you understand that some people's business as usual isn't possible anymore, and may not even have a business coming out of this. So just being aware of those types of things, and understanding. But then when you do speak, when you do communicate out to the community, whether it's about a service that you can provide, or how you can help, or reaching out to your customers, making sure that it's clear, concise, you represent content that is your own as your own, And then when you're presenting content that was shared to you that you think is valuable, that you present it that way. And I think that's the approach that we're going, that I'm taking, and that we're going to continue to take, is to be as additive as possible. And sometimes being additive is by not, don't speak if you don't have anything to say.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I really appreciate your perspective on putting out content that's thoughtful and helpful. I think, and Facebook is notorious for this, right? We get into these, conspiracy theories and all this stuff that goes on around these situations, and it's it a lot of times turns into a very negative dialogue that really isn't helping the situation. And so yeah, I think it's important that we focus on the positive, focus on how we can help each other out as we get through this. And what I really hope is that over time, this just becomes the new norm. That people are focused on giving back and supporting each other in business. And I think it's really interesting. Information is more so about how you use it, and less about where you get it from, right? And what you get. Gary V, I mean, you can pretty much, if you read between his books and his content, you could pretty much duplicate exactly what he has built, a multi-million-dollar enterprise on. But the fact is that, he's throwing it out there because he knows that very few people will know how to actually take the action to build it to that level.
Right. I mean, Gary V is Gary V, right? Like, you can follow the playbook, but if you don't have the same personality, you're not going to have the same success. If you don't have the same drive, the same energy, I'll be the first person to stand up and say, I'm not Gary V. I would never. I could read that playbook. I could follow it step by step. That's not me. I'm not an outgoing personality. I spend a lot of time, as part of the co-working space, as part of the partnership, as the face of the organization, opening up presentations, making presentations, and I have no problem doing that. But because that's not my comfort zone, that takes me 3, 4, 5x the amount of energy that it takes somebody that's what they do, right? Yeah. So I definitely understand what you're saying there, for sure.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, it's interesting. I want to take a step back and talk a little bit about the co-working space, because I think that's probably, based on your gambit of business, probably the one that's taking the biggest hit right now. Has the biggest challenges of everything.
Yeah. Yep. not really any way to sugarcoat that, right? And we're early stages right now, right? Yeah. And hopefully things get as normal as they can, as quickly as they can. But yeah, I mean, we're taking a major hit, right? We have so the current situation with 239 work is that we are operational. We are not manning the space on a regular basis, but all of our members have access into the 24-hour access into the building. So what we've kind of set up is that any essential businesses are able to and welcome to go to the space and operate there. We've actually picked up a few members that are essential businesses that, for whatever reason, working from home is not conducive. Maybe they have 2 other family members that are working from home. Maybe they have 5 dogs like I do. So if you hear that, I apologize. Maybe, whatever it is, right? So there are still people there. There are still people operating out of the space, but I mean, the reality is people need to do what's best for their business. We need to do what's best for our business. And more importantly than that, we need to do what's responsible for, society, right? So we have, obviously, There's not a ton of people there. We've seen a significant drop in revenue. We've seen some members terminate their agreements. Some well, some not optimally through this. So that's unfortunate. But again, everybody's trying to do what's best for them and their family. And sometimes you're not going to see eye to eye on what the right way to do that is. And, it's business. Business is business. I don't, it's not a personal, it doesn't hurt the personal relationship, at least I hope. So that's tough. I think in the long term, I do believe that this could actually be a positive impact, and I mean significantly long term, on the co-working industry, more around the shared space type of environment, right? Because we have private office space as well, which is pretty similar to executive suite, so that's not crazy new. But the collaborative environment, the shared space type of environment, because I think companies are being forced into testing out this remote worker scenario. There's a lot of companies that are out there that still, they understand they're technology companies, but they haven't been open to it for cultural reasons. They want to keep, tightly hold on to that culture, trust reasons, whatever it is. And this is forcing people to become a little bit more open to that. So I think, that's a positive, longer term positive. And for us, what we're doing is, okay, this is not optimal. It is not how we planned 2020 to go. But we are going, we're looking at alternative forms of revenue to come out of the space. We're looking at how, we've had some other initiatives that were, just didn't have the time to get to, or, how we didn't make the time to get to, so that we're looking at that, plan to launch coming out of this. So one of those will be more of an incubator type situation with some of the now open office space, and collaborating with a mentoring organization, and I mean really spearheading that effort with the mentoring organization and getting much more involved. To run that out of the space. So hopefully that will help some, on the back end of this with some economic development and helping some new startups launch quickly and take advantage and get some people back into the workforce. We also looked early we almost launched, we're looking at launching a service where people that are, working remote, but and have been distributed, that don't have the technology, don't have the skill set to do a all hands meeting and present it well with multiple cameras or multiple people with good mics and good network and all of that. We were gearing up to offer that service to anyone that would be interested in coming into, and making sure that the space was safe and everything like that. And then the governor shut Florida down, basically. Yep. So obviously that was something that we stopped on because we don't want to go against government orders, and we certainly don't want to put anybody in danger. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting time. It's a tough time. We're hoping to come out of this with a full head of steam, with some of like as I mentioned, some of the other things that we're working on, and we continue to focus on a lot of our efforts there.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely awesome. Let's talk about the co-working space a little bit, because this is a new industry, in the realm of things. 2005 is when the term was kind of coined, and really 2006 is when it started, I guess you could say, started to take off. How did you guys get into the co-working space, and and start down that path?
Yeah. So when I kind of gave my intro there, right? We started the group business September 2018, right? And then in, I guess, November is when we really like fully launched that project to get the co-working space up and running and signed a lease on a space. February is when we opened. Our goals were to get involved with the technology ecosystem down here. And so in September, I was working from home. And by October, I had evaluated my Starbucks bill and realized that that's a lot. Spending a lot of money at Starbucks right now. Between meetings and just getting out of the house and focusing and things like that. And so I started looking for space and looked at a couple different spaces. Some were too far away. Some didn't really have a focus on community and collaboration. And some just didn't really fit the mold of, what I was looking for. So we started talking about it, and so we said, all right. And in those conversations, we found that private offices were supposedly a waiting list in the spaces that we were talking to, and that there wasn't any space really focused on tech. So that was our market research. So probably not the norm, but that was the market research that we did. And then, as running the software business for all those years, Brian and I was the site lead down here in Southwest Florida for some time with a team of 100-ish people. I know what it's like to run an office space. I know the good and the bad. I know people aren't going to wash their dishes. I know, the things that can come up. So we said, with that level of experience and knowing how to build a culture that's fun and collaborative, that let's take this as the first step. And there's margins are not crazy in co-working. I mean, you take a look at WeWork, obviously. And but for us, it was it was the first step, and knowing full well that we were going to build on top of that, and utilize that as a stepping stone to do some of the other things that we were looking towards, and it certainly accomplished that. So yeah, I mean, it's been a fun ride. Certainly, there's some things that you don't expect and always lessons to be learned and everything like that. We enjoy being at the space. We have a tremendous community manager, Jessica, who keeps everything rolling for us on a day-to-day basis. And the members seem to love. And we just continue to try to push the envelope as far as content, aligning with other groups that are in the area, and making sure that it is what we set out, which is it's a place that anyone can go to. So it's not exclusive to tech, but it has the technology type of culture. And it has the central location right between Fort Myers and Naples. And we continue to drive content into the space that is relevant to our members. So whether it's digital media, social media type of things, whether it's starting your business, whether it's tax accounting, whether it's AWS versus Azure, all those types of content, and working with the meetup groups that are in the area to try to bring them in as frequently as possible.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've had some conversations. We were set up before all this was going to go down to bring LinkedIn Local to the space. So
yeah, we were excited about that, and Connor Tremender from Fielder. I mean, he's a tremendous young entrepreneur, super high energy. That guy could follow the Gary Vee playbook, I think, better than I could. But yeah, I mean, I was excited to see him present, and for him to share some of his learnings and his early in his journey. But yeah, unfortunately, that just maybe, virtually. We'll talk
Virtually,
about that. Everything's moving virtual, and we have a nice new platform that we want to try out that allows for some networking as well as presentation. So we'll see what we can get done soon.
Yeah, I just actually was on an event Wednesday on the Remo platform.
Okay, yeah, so you've seen it, right? It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool space. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what that technology will bring. So, but let's step back. We've talked a little bit about the challenges. Let's talk a little bit about the future. What are you doing now to set the co-working space and really 239 Group up to really come out of this swinging for the fences?
Sure. Yeah. So as I mentioned, we have a couple other business units that we are working on and really sprinting. The ventures business, which is not my area of expertise, so I'm gonna throw that out there right now. The ventures business, which is primarily being driven by Aaron, my partner, Aaron Stafford, is moving right along. So we have raised a significant amount of capital. We are partnering with the Two Lanterns Fund, which is based out of Boston, as the largest LP in that fund. So Aaron is working hard on that. He's got an exciting new deal that he's working on with a Florida business that he's trying to line up, which is pretty cool. And then the other component as well is the media business, right?
Yeah.
So we're actively hiring for that business. So happy, to announce that for sure, especially under the circumstances. Great news for us, because all of a sudden there's a lot more people in the market. So that's positive for people that are looking for talent. I mean, I know, that we have a lot of tech companies in our space, right? And finding tech talent in Southwest Florida has been really difficult. Hopefully that'll anybody with those technical type roles that may have been furloughed or laid off in this time, will hopefully have a pretty quick turnaround to getting back employed. But yeah, so we're focusing on that component of the business as well. And I'm spending some additional time with the nonprofits that I mentioned earlier. So the mentoring nonprofit and the Southwest Florida Regional Technology Partnership, to take a look and see, all right, what are we bringing to the table now? How can we shift gears on that and, again, shift to virtual, develop additional content, spend some time on our assets and our social media branding and things like that, to really, again, just be prepared when things settle down and you're allowed to step out of your house without, like a laser dot on the top of your forehead. And really hit the ground running. And of course, those nonprofits, they're focused on helping the community and growing the community, and that's something that aligns very closely with the co-working space, right? So it's a value add to the co-working space as well, having those operate out of the space. Just looking at connecting all the dots, just here, literally looking at connecting all the dots and seeing how everything pulls together and how we're going to make it all work in the new normal, as you said.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. I think companies are going to start to realize that, because everybody was forced to go to work at home, I think companies are going to realize that there's ways to maintain that culture and still have that work at home. And what I think will be interesting is, especially in the co-working space, is how you can leverage that new norm of flexibility that companies have and
Right.
and establishing regional presences for like regional managers, salespeople, and creating a space for them to go and work out of, as opposed to.
Right. And I mean, it's all encompassing, right? I mean, you have some people that are very far removed, right? So we have satellite individuals, we have satellite offices in our space, right, for larger organizations.
Hmm.
But it's also, you think about, I'll use myself as an example. So when I went to work with Field Edge for a year after I was with Fluke, um, Field Edge at the time had a pretty strong no work from home policy, but it was also a completely open layout. And I was the director of customer success at the time, so it was a completely open layout. One conference room in their office at the time. Now they've since moved and solved all of these issues, and they have a tremendous new office space in downtown Fort Myers. Awesome for their culture. So happy for that team. But when I needed to really work on some of these items and say, some of the strategic items and documentation and SOPs and things like that, I would actually leave the office and go to a co-working space, right? I would actually leave and go because I didn't necessarily want to go home. I didn't have the sense of focus here. So I would go, and Starbucks, we already talked about that issue. So I would go to a co-working space for, half day, full day sometimes to focus in on some of those things. So it doesn't have to be, you can have a desk. You can have a desk at Hertz. But if you need the ability to remove yourself from an environment, it can inspire you. It can create new connections to collaborate. There's a lot of benefit that comes out of getting a little bit of separation. So yeah, there's a lot of different angles to it and a lot of different benefits to utilizing a space, whether it's, just a day pass once a week, or once a month, or just as you need it, or it's, a once a week type of thing. Or it's if you have a home office, but again, it's just the networking and the collaboration. There's a whole slew of different reasons to leverage a co-working space. And one thing that I haven't even mentioned is the virtual offices, right? So I think a lot of businesses that maybe did have their own private office and an executive suite that are looking to cut costs, or they had a larger office and now they've gone fully distributed, right? So everybody's remote now. You don't want to run your business address from your home. There's many reasons not to. Privacy and security is one big one. Down here in Florida, HOAs is another big one.
Yep.
And so, that's another angle that, we provide, and we provide more than just a mailbox. You get to join the community and collaborate with the people that are in the space, and you're in the Slack channel, and you can promote your services and provide discounts to the different people that are there, and the happy hours, and all of that type of thing. So you don't get quite as removed, and there's that's an individual type of thing and at a corporate level type of thing. So you can bring your team in for a day. So that you all do get together, you use the conference room, you play ping pong or play pool or whatever it is, have a little bit of team building, even though your team is now distributed.
No, that's absolutely awesome. I think it's really important as a business, you need to start looking at those opportunities to cut costs. I think people are realizing, again, just like when the 2008, 2009 crash, and obviously this is a little bit different circumstances of why, but we're going through some of the similar things of looking at how do we cut costs, how do we operate more efficiently, and office space I think is a big piece of that.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that companies realize that you don't have to be in a full office to be a really highly effective team. My team, we are fully remote. I'm on this side of the state. My My counterpart, my partner in the business, he's over in West Palm area, and we have another guy down in Sunset near Fort Lauderdale there. So we're all over the place, and we're hiring as well. So it's always exciting to go through that. We're like, we don't care where you're at. You're a salesperson and you're selling national accounts. So we don't care where you're at.
Right.
Just have technology and good internet. That's all we need.
Yep. So, yeah, for sure.
So I think co-working space in general, I think there's a good opportunity for the industry to come out strong out of this. And
for those that survive.
Yes.
It's going to be the big question.
It will be the big question, but it sounds like everything that you have going on, your ventures are keeping you guys going strong, which is exciting to hear. And just proof in the pudding that you really shouldn't be all in on one thing,
right?
To help that sustainability factor. So that to me is one of the keys of why you guys are going to continue to be successsul as you move forward. So great to hear that. I would love to hear your parting words, that one piece of advice for small business owners, that one takeaway that you think is most important for them right now.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, my background and my passion is really around customer success and customer engagement. And so, I think for me, this, and talking to a couple different people during all of this, from a software perspective, one of the things that I think this really proved out is the value of not only the role of a customer evangelist, a customer success manager, and that point of contact, beyond upselling and trust-based selling and making your customers aware of new features and functionalities and trying to become more sticky in the day-to-day. But one key component to that role is setting goals, setting success factors is what I call them. It's pretty common with your clients. And then as you reach those goals, taking the opportunity, whether it's however formal you go, whether it's an on-site meeting or it's a remote meeting or it's just an email, to remind your customers what their goal was, that they accomplished it, and what the impact is to their business. Because those individuals and those organizations that have done that successfully and regularly and provided something concrete, like a slide deck or whatever it is that shows, here's your ROI on utilizing our tool, our software, they are going, when there's a lot of meetings that are happening right now. There's a ton of meetings that are happening right now where we're looking at spend line by line by line. What are we spending on coffee? What are we spending on this software? What are we spending on this software? Where can we cut? We need to be fiscally responsible, excuse me. And so those organizations that have a strong process where they're showing that ROI, and making sure that that ROI is getting to the right individuals in the organization, it's going to be very easy for them to say, well, this piece of software costs X. It costs us $200,000 a year. But this year alone, we've saved $1 million on this piece of equipment, or $750,000 in man hour, or reduced downtime, or whatever industry you're in, right? Increase in retention has whatever it is, and so those are the software companies that are not going to need to necessarily go nuts when something like this starts to happen and start picking up the phone trying to get all of their customers on the phone that are now very busy dealing with their own side of the pandemic. They know that they have that data there. Now, sure, you can resend it over to them just as a reminder, But that's, again, you're not recreating the wheel. You are not generating that. You're just sending it back over. So just focusing in and doubling down on that customer success, customer engagement, customer advocacy in your organization is certainly the right thing to do. Automation is great, right? Automated onboarding is excellent. If you can automate this data going out, great. But you need to build those relationships, build that trust, and make sure that that data is getting into the right hands and that people are utilizing it appropriately. So that would be my piece of advice of kind of, if you weren't doing it, now you should really double down on that. If you are doing it, I would just do a kind of your discount double check with your customer success team and make sure that they're following the process that you have in place, and that there isn't an opportunity to incrementally improve that data that's going out.
That is awesome advice. Customer success and relationship management is critical, especially when people are starting to cut spending. So definitely appreciate that. I appreciate your time today. Where can people find you?
Sure. So I should have had this prepared. So anybody that wants to get a hold of me, I'm on LinkedIn. You can email me at alex.allen, ALLEN, at TWO39group.com. You can go to our website for the co-working space, TWO39work.com. If you want to learn more about what we do, we have chat available there. Feel free to chat in. You're going to talk to a real person. You can also email info@239work for more information about that, or just trying to get a hold of any of us. We'll be more than happy to help any way that we can, whether you need space for a day, for a month, for a year. Happy to support you that way. If you have any interest in some of the other things that we're doing, I'll be happy to share more about that.
Awesome. I appreciate your time today. We'll get all your links into the show notes as well. So if you're listening in after the fact, you can find us on YouTube, Winning Tactics Podcast. This will also be available on Facebook. Replay of the live. Drop your comments, questions in there. We can do our best to answer all those questions for you. And while you're at my YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe as well, so you can keep up on the rest of these. Alex, thank you so much for your time this morning. Really appreciated everything that you brought to the table. I think you brought some really good nuggets that the small business owners in the area can take away and really use in their own business. So thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.